Well, it looks like we are right at the hour. I think we will likely have folks coming in who might be transitioning after finishing a class up or running to get in front of their computers to join via Zoom today. I just want to welcome all of you on behalf of the Faculty Center for Innovation. We are so thrilled to have Jordan Herrera here with us today. She is an expert from Amarillo College's Advocacy and Resource Center. And she's going to be talking about some really practical ways that we can demonstrate care for our learners and how we can apply that in the classroom. And in particular, some of the learners that we have, which might have other barriers that they are facing and how we can support them through that as well. So this is continuing with that theme of this fall, which is creating a culture of care. So how can we show care for our classes, for our students, and particularly those who might be facing additional barriers? So Jordan, thank you so much for being here. We are just thrilled to have you with us. Jordan has just come off of maternity leave as well. And she is just above and beyond. We are just so thankful to have her with us and to share her expertise today. So welcome. And I will pass the virtual mic over to you, Jordan.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Amber, for your kind words and just setting the stage. I'm really excited to share what we're doing, what we've been doing at Amarillo College for several years now with all of you. And again, bear with me with my postpartum brain. I was telling Amber as we got started, it's been a whirlwind since I've been back. This is like this is my third full week back to the office, and it's been busy. It's fall. So I just appreciate your time, and I just want to be considerate of that. I've prepared up a slideshow for us, a PowerPoint for us to just kind of use as a guide. I'm open to questions, and feel free to have those ready for me if you feel so inclined, and I can answer those as we wrap up at the end. But just to kind of give you some context about myself, I am a social worker. I have been working at Amarillo College now for a total of 12 years. 10 of those years I have been within the capacity of social services in some form or fashion. And I have spent the last 8 years as the administrator, as the director over our Advocacy and Resource Center at the college. So I have a great experience in watching what it means to just have a culture change that's really going to impact the students that you're serving, and having systems in place to help our students who are facing barriers. So I'm just going to jump right in and get us started here. At Amarillo College, our leadership that we have had the privilege of having with us over the last 8-10 years and into where we are right now, even though we're in a transition phase for ourselves with locating a new president. But our leadership has felt very strongly about the theory of change that we've put into action at Amarillo College, which has really been the bread and butter of the changes that we have seen within our institution that ultimately has impacted our students. Our theory of change at Amarillo College is what you're seeing right here on the screen. We believe in removing a life barrier, and we do that in the work that we do every day in the Advocacy and Resource Center. We have systems set up, which I will go through here shortly to kind of explain what that looks like when you're talking about removing a life barrier. But we believe in removing that life barrier in an accelerated learning environment through a deep culture of caring at our college to ensure that our students are completing, that they are able to come and complete the goal that they set out to do when they decided to jump into the college world. No matter if they're, first time in college students at age 29 or they're first time in college students at age 18, we want to be available to set them up for success in every way that we possibly can, because we know that if we have those systems in place, they will be successful. So one of the things that we've done at our college, and it was the early works of our former president, Dr. Lowry Hart, the vision that he had was really being intentional with connecting students to resources that we knew were going to help them. And in order to connect students to resources that were going to be helpful for them with the issues that they were having or the barriers that they were experiencing, that was going to require us to take a deeper look at the students that we really have at the college. And so through his leadership, we wanted to get to know our students in another way than we ever had before. And so years ago, we kind of set out to learn about our students through a survey that we did here in house at the college, just to kind of ask them, what's going on, what kind of struggles are you having, what supports do you think are lacking. And from that, we learned that students needed more supports in a lot of areas. We learned that our students were food insecure. We learned that students were housing insecure. We learned that students were maybe at times unable to pay for things to keep a roof over their heads, to address their basic needs. We knew they were having financial struggles. We knew students, identified mental health needs and resources as a priority that they wanted to see. And so from those surveys that we did in-house many years ago, we learned what they needed. And once we learned that they were going to need access to additional resources and additional services, we wanted to be intentional with creating a place where students could come and get the help that they needed. I think in education, we all have a heart to want to help our people. We want to help our students. And when we learn that there's something going on at home or just outside of the classroom, we feel inclined to want to help them and to help in the best way that we can. And what was happening for us at the college 12 years ago was we had people that had the heart to help and serve and wanted to, maybe call the local shelter or call one of our nonprofits in town to help a student who was homeless or, without maybe electricity, and trying to work together with those community partners, and not realizing that maybe this student shared this same story with all the other instructors they had today, right? Maybe just it was this trifecta that happened where they were like, hey, I was late because I didn't have running water this morning, or I did, I'm living in my car and these things are happening. And so what we learned at the college at the time was people were wanting to help, right? They wanted to step in and make those calls and connect to our students to those resources. But what they didn't realize was that maybe 2 or 3 of our colleagues at the college, 2 or 3 instructors, were all doing the same thing. And it became evident that what we needed to do to be more impactful was to have a center where students could go to, a center where faculty could send students after they've learned, Kristen doesn't have childcare, or Kristen doesn't have running water in her house right now, and I know that there's a place on campus that can help Kristen with that need. And so with that being said, we created our Advocacy and Resource Center, which was basically like a one-stop shop basic needs center to help our students. We brought in the resources that some existed prior to the leadership that we had with Dr. Lowry Hart and the vision that he had. Some of these services existed prior to his time with us at Amarillo College. But what we wanted to do was we wanted to bring those services plus the new services that we were going to start in one area where students could come and just have an easy access to getting the needs met. And so we created our Advocacy and Resource Center. It was in the summer of 2016. We intentionally put our center on the first floor of one of our most utilized buildings on campus. And what we did with that was we just wanted to put this center in the center of campus, if you will, and show students, hey, it's okay if you have a need that, maybe you feel embarrassed to talk about, or maybe you're just not even sure, does the college have anything to help me with the needs that I'm experiencing, maybe with food insecurity and housing insecurity. And we wanted to just showcase our services in such a way to make students feel comfortable, to remove the stigma that comes along with asking for help and comes along with having to talk about, basic needs and securities. And so we created the Advocacy and Resource Center. Within that center, you have several resources. I'll talk some about them coming in the upcoming slides, but just to kind of give you an overview, what we have within our center is our social services program that allows students the ability to talk to one of 4 social workers that are on site in my office, available to help students with anything under that social service umbrella. We have a scholarship program that allows us to help students connect to additional supports for tuition, for textbooks. But we also have supports to help our students through that same program with childcare scholarships and transportation scholarships, which I'll talk about in a little bit. We have our food pantry that we oversee. We actually have 5 food pantries altogether at Amarillo College, at every one of our campuses. And then we also, back before COVID, had a clothing closet that was in place to help students as well. We've moved away from the physical closet, but we still have ways to support students that have those needs in the event that they come forward and need that kind of help. So you can have an understanding of the students that we're serving. This might look familiar to your campus, to the students that you're serving, but I wanted to provide you with a little bit of data just to have an idea of like who is here at Amarillo College, who is coming in for services in the ARC, what does this student look like? And what you're seeing on the screen is just a snapshot of the demographics of our student, and probably looks really similar maybe to your student as well. We're talking to first generation students. We're talking to students who are primarily here part-time. Why? Because they're working. They have other responsibilities outside of just being the student in your classroom. We're talking to a majority of minority students who are coming in and just trying to figure out higher ed and maybe navigating that as a minority first generation student. They need more help. They need more support than just, maybe students who don't already kind of have those labels on them. We serve primarily female students in our center. The majority of our students are also Pell eligible. They've been Pell awarded, meaning that we already know that they have some financial needs that they already come to the table with. And then we're predominantly serving students over the age of 25. So we are definitely serving the student who is the adult student. But this is who's commonly walking, the campuses now. This is the student that we have. These are the students that we need to find supports and resources to support on their journey. So one of the ways that we do that here at Amarillo College has been, again, through the Advocacy and Resource Center, through having social workers on the team, and through building those community partnerships. We've been able to secure either resources that we know we can directly connect our students to, because we've built these relationships with some of these partners in our community. And some of those people are listed here on the screen that you're looking at. I'll kind of touch on a few of them just so you kind of have an idea of what we're doing, and when we know students have a particular need, how we've gone above and beyond to try to meet that need if we can through a partnership in the community. One thing that we have to always keep in mind, that it's something that I always share whenever I have the privilege to talk to groups like yours, is although we have social workers here and there's 4 of us, we're still a part of a higher education entity, right? Like, we're not a social service agency that has access to other supports or resources, or we're within an education setup, and we have to remember that. And so I think one thing that we've been able to do is really utilize like the network that comes within the social work background and the social work profession that we belong to. And we're really good at just like that networking and knowing, like, I know so-and-so can do this, and I know they can help me here, and just bringing those skills and applying them to the work that we do every day at the college. And so some of the partnerships that we've built are, when students come to the office, maybe they've been referred by the faculty member because they have learned through being in class I don't, I haven't had an eye exam in like 5 years, 10 years. I can't see the board. And so if I can't see the board, I'm not able to maybe focus in the classroom the way you want me to focus. I'm not able to feel confident, right? Like sitting there and trying to learn. And so students come to us and they let us know that. Faculty members refer students to us to address a need such as that. So we have two partners on the screen, Vroom Optical and Amarillo Vision Specialists. And our partnership with those two individuals is we have the relationships with the optometrists that provide our students with a free eye exam. And then we're able to, once that exam is over, help our students obtain glasses. So that way they can see and they can, sit in the classroom more confidently and be more active in their learning without having to worry about that barrier. So we've created that partnership. We work with our High Plains Food Bank. With us having the food pantry here on the campus, we have access to food items. Of course, they have access to using our food pantry. But one thing that we didn't have within our food pantry was access to fresh produce and those types of things that are important to students and their families. And so we stepped into a partnership with the High Plains Food Bank. Every Tuesday, they bring their mobile garden truck to our campus and they have bags of produce ready to go for students just to come and pick up. So we're meeting that need for them as well, along with, providing access to a very regular menu that is provided to them through the food pantry. Our food pantry partnership and our partner that we work with directly is Snack Pack for Kids. They are another nonprofit here in Amarillo who their overall mission was to provide food to students in the K through 12 system who were food insecure, but to provide the food for them over the weekend. And so what their main goal was to provide a snack bag for students to take home on a Friday to ensure that they had food for themselves over the weekend. And so when they learned about our food pantries back in 2016, they came to us and said, hey, we're doing the work you're doing. We want to come in and be a part of this. Like, how can we work together? And so because of this partnership, we don't really have to rely on food drives and things like that. We're able to provide a consistent menu to our students at every one of the food pantries at Amarillo College by ordering directly from Snack Pack and providing access to name brand food items for our students. And, talk about partnering with another entity that just really values dignity and self-worth in a person and the students that they're serving. Their mission is very close to our mission. And so it's amazing to see what happens with little kids all the way up to the students that we're serving at Amarillo College when they see that this place has taken enough care into how I feel about the food I'm receiving. You're getting food that looks just like what we get from the grocery store. It's nice, it's neat, it's not dented, it's not demolished, and that really helps. And so that partnership we're so thankful for, just because of the impact that we've been able to have through our food pantry. We also know that students, as I can imagine, maybe in your area, they suffer from the maybe lack of transportation. And so one of the things that we did a few years ago was we went into an agreement with our city of Amarillo with the community development transportation area. And we talked to them about like, what would it look like if we worked together to maybe provide access to our students to utilize the bus system for free. And keep in mind in Amarillo, like we're not a big town. So I know like in other places, transportation is not too much of an issue. There's lots of public transportation, but here it kind of is. Our public transportation at the time wasn't great. They had actually like revamped the routes that they were offering to their customers. And along with that, they revamped the routes that got students to Amarillo College campuses in a quicker manner. And then they stepped into this agreement with us to allow our students to just present their student ID to the driver to ride that bus for free. So we've been able to really just kind of touch on whatever need the student has indicated as a barrier to try to find a service, whether within the college or within our community, to help meet those needs. One of the things that we've done here at the college that has really impacted students through their access of our emergency aid program was being able to provide emergency aid without red tape, without just expectations, truly be able to serve them in a way that if they are dealing with an emergency, they can come to our office in the ARC and talk to us about what that is. And if it's a financial emergency, then we're able to connect them to this resource and this support. Our No Excuses Fund has been in existence for 12 years. So it has been in existence ever since we started our social services program at Amarillo College. And with the support of our Amarillo College Foundation, we've been able to keep this resource available to our students all these years later. We have really become, I would say, experts in this field. We've sat at the table on the state level here in Texas. We've done some work nationally to really talk about emergency aid and how that really needs to look to make it effective for students. And so our goal with our emergency aid, or our purpose with it, is to truly just provide that financial support to help those students overcome those barriers, and to do so in such a way that we're not asking them to pay back this money, or it's not going to hurt them in any way with their financial aid. It's truly our way of helping them stay in school if the emergency is a financial need. So what happens for us, and what's happened, just to be completely transparent, because I'm all about being transparent in our journey. When we started providing emergency aid to students in the beginning, we were just kind of like, oh, case by case. If the student needed, $800, we would ask them to provide documentation. So let's just say we had a $800 utility bill. They would present that statement to us. We would move forward with the request and help them. I get a lot of questions about emergency aid, so I'm gonna kind of touch on everything that I'm usually asked about, but feel free if there's something you want to ask me later. But one thing that we get asked about is, do you pay the student directly, or are you paying the vendors directly? What does that look like? What does payment look like? We do pay our third-party vendors directly. We have a lot of different entities that we've worked with over the years because of our students. So we have a direct contact with the utility company, the gas company, the water company. My team and myself, what we do is we will send in a request for payment to any of those entities and let them know, hey, we're going to pay on Crystal's account. We're going to do $500, however much it is. And we send in that information so that they can ensure that either services are not going to be turned off or services can get turned back on. But we pay our third-party vendors directly as often as we can. Same thing with rent, apartments, things like that. As long as we can obtain the paperwork we need, which is a W-9 most of the time, we can move forward with that. And students they understand. We're not really in a position where we're giving students money and hoping that they go forward and they go pay what they said they wanted help with. We believe in just doing that ourselves directly. And we've built these relationships with these companies and these third-party vendors where they know, we're good for our word, and we are going to pay them. So in the beginning of our efforts with this resource, we did look at things case by case. And if one student needed $800 and then the next one just needed $250, that was fine. And there were cases where students needed $1,200 or students needed, $1,500, and it was okay. And we were in a position where we could have that flexibility. But over the years, and I will say definitely after COVID, we have seen the impact of funding and lack thereof, if I'm going to be honest. And that's really made us have to change how we're helping students. We fortunately still get to help them through this program, through this resource. We've just had to really kind of put some parameters on it that we didn't have to have before. It's still very accessible though. I still take pride in knowing that they're not having to jump through hoops to get access to this service. They're still bringing in the documentation for the need. But what we're having to do now is we are limited to only helping with $500. We can only do that once per academic year unless there's some kind of extreme circumstance that's happened with the student, and we can consult with our foundation to make an exception if needed. But we've really had to kind of hone that in, especially over like the last year, just due to wanting to ensure we could still offer this resource and this service. We have given out, I should know this number, and I could probably find it for you by the time we finish up our presentation, but I know that we have given over like pretty close to $1 million worth of emergency aid in the last 12 years that we've been doing this work. It's been incredible to be able to have offered all of that assistance to students. And now we're at a place where we just have to be really frugal with what we're doing, just have to be good stewards of our funds. And so we are definitely working with our foundation and with other community entities to ensure that we have funding available to move forward. My vision is we'll always have it. We just may have to tweak what we're doing and how much we're helping with, but we will have it moving forward to help our students. One thing that we've done is we have built a relationship with our gas company here in Amarillo. They're called Atmos Energy. And for the last 5 years, I would say, or for sure 4, because I was pregnant with my other daughter. I remember when we got one of our first big gifts from them is every fall they provide us with, anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000 to help support the needs of our students who have utility needs. And so it's those kind of intentional partnerships that we're trying to build with others, so that way it's a win-win for both of us. Their customers can keep their services on, our students can keep their services on, and it works out very well. But I share that just because this is something that a lot of people are really interested in. I get a lot of questions about it, and it's just one of those things that, to be transparent, we've had to kind of tweak over the years. We're not in a position to just be like, okay, sure, $1,500, no problem. We just have to be more mindful and thoughtful. And I'm hopeful that, as we move forward, we'll be able to really secure more funding to help us. Another thing that we've done, I touched on it a little bit when I was talking about the services that we have in the ARC, but our scholarship program, I mentioned, we have access to traditional tuition and textbook scholarships. In addition to that, we have a portion of our Carl Perkins grant here at the college that we utilize in the ARC to help students with the childcare needs that they may have and transportation needs that they may have. For this particular grant, students do have to be in a approved program per the coordinating board for us to be able to award them either childcare or transportation assistance. And if they fall into that criteria and they present a need, like they don't have any other childcare supports in the community, like helping them, there's no childcare subsidies that they have access to, we can award them our childcare scholarship, and we pay a portion of that to help our students. And so we use this grant to help students with that need. Our transportation scholarship is really beneficial for our students who are like in technical programs, health science programs, and if they're having to, commute, it could be the commute for the clinical itself. For our technical programs, our technical campus here at Amarillo College is actually almost like it's like a 20-minute drive out of the Amarillo city limits. And so it's a little bit further. And so we have a lot of students that, they go that route because they know they can, finish that degree a little quicker, but they need that support. So they need help with that commute. And so we can award those students the transportation scholarship to help them. So that's what we've done at the college to rethink how to utilize those funds. We've been able to also secure another grant that's very similar to this grant, that's also supporting the same criteria of students, but they are also single parent students too. And so we've got some great systems in place to help them. My last slide before I move into just the questions is just to kind of paint this picture of what we're seeing in the ARC, the amount of students that we're seeing in the ARC, and the visits that we have to the ARC. And I always just kind of like to share what it looks like for us over the last 3 years, just to kind of see this growth that has happened for us. And so I'm sharing with you just some data on what it looked like for us in the 2021-2022 academic year, 2022 and 2023, and then just recently 23-24. The blue columns is the unique student count coming into the ARC for assistance. And so that's just like that unique number, student head count of them coming in. The green columns are showing you the total visits to the ARC. So Susie can come in and see us, but Susie can come in throughout the whole semester and see us for like a variety of things. And so that's why that number is so much higher than the unique count. But over the years, you can see, we've steadily stayed, as far as unique students go, over the last 2 years, well over, 2,000 students. I mean, this past year, it looks like we hit, 2,500 students, unique students as a whole coming to the ARC. The visits went down a little bit, but to me, the unique students, that kind of, says it for me, that we grew that column as opposed to the previous years with the visits. But this just kind of paints the picture of the needs, right? To me, I look at it as like every visit is a need the student came in for something, and it's displayed here. And so I say that so that way everyone can understand. I know you probably already do. Our students have needs. They have, services that they want to access, that they need to access in order to remain successful in the classroom and to complete the goal that they started with, which was to, come to college and graduate. And so I believe that, having our services around, especially through this like one-stop shop method that we've done at Amarillo College for the last 8 years, has really enhanced our learners' ability to just be to be learners and to be able to participate in the classroom, and to be able to feel confident in that, and to know as well that their college does care, and their college has resources in place to support them, and that they, here at Amarillo College, because of our culture change that we've had, we make that a priority, and we've done so through the things that we're offering in the ARC. And the data shows, students are they're coming in to get the help that they need, and we're really proud of that work. And so that's in a nutshell like what we're doing and how we're supporting students. And it's condensed because I know like we have a limited amount of time, but at this point, if you have any questions for me, or you want to know specifically about a particular service or resource that that we offer, please, I feel free to ask me so I can help in any way.
I have a question, Jordan.
Mhm.
Um, so according to your statistics, you said that if I'm remembering correctly, about 70 some percent were female. What are why do you think that's so high compared to, I'm assuming the other percent are male, and why don't isn't there other demographics coming in such large numbers?
Mhm. Yeah, so we were at the last, I can go back to that slide. Last time we kind of looked at this, yeah, 75% female just this past spring. So at Amarillo College, we are a female majority student base here. Like there's more female students than there are male students. I think that's just kind of the trend that you see across college campuses anyway. But particularly with social services, this is normal. To see more females accessing resources and services is what we typically see as a whole. I will
Mhm.
say though that means that there's 25% males that are coming to the ARC. And I will say that over the last years of the 8 years of having the ARC, we have seen that steadily grow and grow, because when we first opened the ARC, that number was not even close to that. It was, maybe 16%, 17% males. So we're proud of the fact that it's gotten to where it is now at 25%. But the way that I kind of look at that, I think the culture is for males to work, right? I think especially within like a Hispanic population in our culture, you see a lot of students choose to go into the workforce because they feel like they have to provide. They have that sense of it is my duty to provide, whether that's for themselves and their family, or there's a lot of our male students here at the college that are still living in with their parents or like maybe with their mothers, and they share that like I need help with my utility bill or with these bills, and if I can't help, like I know what that means for me. Like I had a student just tell me that last week, this means I have to go to work. Like I either have to work more or I just have to and try to make this work with my school schedule, or I can't even do school at all and I'm just going to have to focus on work. And so I think it's harder for males to come forward and ask for assistance as it is. I think sometimes we don't do a good job, especially with social services, just as a whole, in broadcasting our services that they benefit males as well as females. I think sometimes when we think single parents, we think women, you know, and that's not always the case. And so I think we could do a better job at that. But I am proud of us, you know, kind of moving that needle. I wish we could see more male students than what we do. But one of the things that I tell my team when we are working with our male students is, you know, to explain to them, because they're really one of the first ones that will say, I don't really want the help. Like I was told to come in here by my instructor and like they said that you can help me, but you know, I can just go back to work and this is going to be like I can solve this problem on my own. And we really have to watch our language when we're working with students that have that mindset, you know, and that's when we have to take it into our hands and tell them at Amarillo College, we have built these systems to help you. Okay. So you're a student just like, you know, everybody else in your class. And if the student next to you needed that help, we would offer the same assistance to them, and don't look at it like it's shameful to take the assistance or you're going to take from somebody else who might need it more than you. Don't think of it like that. We're set up to help you, and we want to help you, and so we try to like word it in that way to just make them understand, you know, that it's okay, that this is what we do. And I even go so far of like telling them, you know, you go to financial aid so they can help you fill out your FAFSA and tell you what paperwork's missing, and you go to advising so you can get put in classes, right? Well, we're here to help you to stay in class, and so you've got to let us help you so you can stay in class. And so I think that you know, just some of those things that we've done, our best practices, has been what's helped us kind of move that needle. I definitely want to see more male students come to the table, but just our demographic as a whole here at the college is we have more female students than we do male students.
And I'm glad to see that you guys are working on that, because when I was working at Mesa Community College here in the Metro Phoenix area, we have a kind of a similar population, and what we're finding, and you're right, across the country, is it's becoming a problem now to where post-secondary education is becoming an all female kind of thing slowly but surely. And it's like, how do we address those needs, this problem that's growing and growing exponentially year by year, to where it, you know, because you want equality in your numbers of men and women. One group shouldn't be at the expense of another on
Right.
there. And so I'm glad to hear that you guys are really kind of looking into looking at the culture and changing those wording to help more male students as well from all backgrounds. So well done.
Thank you. I think is it Win? I think you may have had your hand up first.
So Jordan, thank you very much for your talk. And I have a question. So
Mhm.
recently I have a student, a male student, he became homeless.
Mhm.
And so he has a hard time catch up with the class, internet access, and so on. So I was wondering how you guys help the homeless student that you mentioned in your talk.
Yes, it's a great question. And it's a scenario that I wish we didn't see as often as we do. And so we were in a position, we don't have this ability directly within our department anymore, but around the time of COVID, we had access to HUD applications that to each application, there was a voucher that was going to be provided to this student that completed it. We had this partnership with our community development office through the city of Amarillo. They had set aside about 50 vouchers that were going to go directly to Amarillo College students. And so when we worked with students at that time, we had, I mean, that's like the golden ticket, you know, to be able to say, okay, we've got a voucher, now you can get into housing and that can be secured for you. Now that's not the case. They don't have the additional vouchers to provide to us. So we are going back to what we did before. We work with Panhandle Community Services. They're an agency here in town that they do provide access to the HUD applications, and they do work with their clients, which can be our students. So we help them kind of get that process started with them. In the meantime, though, we can help with maybe a hotel stay if it's kind of like a temporary thing that they're in transition. We can offer that. Our foundation has been very generous in allowing us to, you know, pay for some stays, some nights visits with for our students that are in those situations. We can also, you know, help them through the process. You know, maybe they are displaced from housing because of situations that happened maybe with mom and dad or the roommate that they had. And so we can help them maybe access another housing program or service for them that might be more fitting. There's a few places in town that serve single mothers and students who are parents who are coming to school. And so we have great relationships with those places, and we can call. Usually they're very transparent on the openings and the availabilities that they have. So we have those connections. But I think in most situations, right, like if we're not able to help them get into like a place with Buckner Family or Evelyn Sunshine Cottage, which are those single parent housing resources, being able to at least offer a hotel stay has been helpful. Also connecting them to shelters and knowing exactly which ones are going to be beneficial for that student. And ultimately, you know, knowing that it is their choice. I think that's the thing also about having, you know, social workers work in our capacity is, you know, we do respect, you know, their right to the choices that they make, you know, and we provide them the resources that we can and help them the best way that we can and guide them to those services. But we also respect that maybe they didn't have the best experience if this is not the first time that they've been homeless. And so just trying to navigate that, but just being able to have those options. Again, that emergency aid comes into such play because if we can offer hotel stay, if it's a transition time, we can do that. But then connecting to those resources ultimately is helpful.
Thank you very much for your information.
You're welcome. I think there was maybe one more. I don't know if I'm still seeing it, another hand raising, but maybe not. But if you have, so Sandra.
Yeah, I have one quick question, and it's really about maybe what percentage of your students use your services here. We saw this chart that showed that last year there was about 2,500, roughly 2,500 unique visits. But out of what type of student population? I'm wondering how many students you have at Amarillo College.
Yeah, so at Amarillo College, there's on average about 10,000 students that are enrolled here at the institution. And the numbers that you're seeing on there, that does not include like students that are enrolled through dual credit or CE students. The number that we focus on when we pull our data is true academic credit students that are here with us. So on average, it's usually about 10,000 students that we have here at the college.
Okay, so probably 25 or more % of your students are using your services. So that's important to know, and it's a great option for them.
Yes. Absolutely. Thank you.
I also just have one last quick question, Jordan.
Sure.
You know, at the beginning of your presentation, you talked about creating that change culture or that theory of care, theory of change. And I guess my question is, you know, if faculty like those on the call today or administrators who might be on the call see the need for this type of thing, how did you guys go from providing, you know, individual support and that type of thing and transitioning it to be much more institutionalized, well-resourced and supported? I noticed that the center is a named center as well. I don't know if that leads to additional funding and endowments, but just any advice that you would have for a similar institution who might be at the very beginning of what you guys have spent the last decade creating.
Yeah, it's a
just
great
kind of how to
question.
get that culture shift.
Yeah,
And then
it's
I
a
think yeah, go ahead.
No, you're good. And I know if we're close to time, just, give me a sign.
Yep.
But I'll
And for
try to,
anybody who needs to hop off, of course, please feel free to. We appreciate your time and being here today. I know we've gone a little bit over, but it's such a great conversation with you, Jordan. So if there are any questions, I think Erica, did you have one? But anyway, we'll let you answer that, and then we'll wrap up shortly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So to keep it short and simple, I 100% believe, you have to have leadership buy-in at Amarillo
Mhm.
College. Truly, that is what happened here. Dr. Lowry Hart, before he was even the president, served in the VPAA role at the institution. And even in his role at that time, had this passion to want to do more, to really want to learn these students and find ways to serve them and provide resources. And then, of course, with his presidency, it just full blown, that support from the very top was there. And so one of the things over the years that we've encouraged institutions to do when they are in the middle of trying to transition their own culture or just learning about the students is to have some type of leadership buy-in. Rather that is, and most times you see a service such as the ARC within our student affairs division. And so having that support within the division in which they serve is going to be instrumental in moving the needle forward with this work. It truly, truly is. And then also just, bringing in an expert that maybe can talk about the challenges that, people face. And so one thing that we did at the college as well was Dr. Lowry Hart brought in Dr. Donna Beagle. She is a nationally well-known poverty coach that provides her own lived expertise to businesses, colleges. I mean, she's worked with so many people just so people can have an understanding of another person's life and what that looks like. Through those trainings with her, though, it was always made very well understood that nobody was asking our faculty, our other staff members to be social workers. What needed to be understood was we needed to have a place. We needed to have a department that had social workers. So that way our staff and our faculty, our colleagues could send those students to and know you're going to get the help that you need. With that being said, one of the things that I've always said about faculty members is you all hold the power. You truly, truly do, because you see these students multiple times a week in your classroom. You know if they're there, you know if they're not there. You get to know them in a way that my team and we don't get to know them, right? I mean, we do for a brief moment to provide like access to a resource and helping them, eliminate that barrier. But you truly are in a place where you're building relationships, you're building rapport with these students. And it's been something that we feel so passionate about in our work, is just, telling our faculty, we're here to help support you. You truly hold the power in getting students connected to what they need to be connected to. And just knowing that you can just be a faculty member who can be in tune with the needs of the student and know that your institution supports these said needs, and just being familiar with what services are available. It doesn't mean that you have to take that role on, that you have to be the one to solve that problem. You just need to be the connector in getting that student to the right place and getting them the help that they need. And then from that point, you've done what you've needed to do. But I think what helps is having, faculty be in a position where they are knowledgeable about resources and services that are available. That's also like on my end, as being the person that's overseeing this resource, getting my team out and connecting them to different events or speaking engagements where we can tell, new faculty members and new staff members, this is what we do, and this is how we can help students, and this is how you can help us to help our students, and just letting them, be aware of that. Also believe the power of data has really helped us at the institution just show the impact that is had through providing emergency aid, providing access to resources. That has been instrumental in the work that we've done at the college. But I would definitely say my takeaways are leadership buy-in at some level, being able to have an understanding of who that student is, what they're needing, and then being knowledgeable about what's available and how you can help support them if there's already something similar on your campus that's doing this type of work? You know, what do they look for? How can you best help them so they can best help your student in the classroom? Any other questions? This was fun. This was a good, you know, my brain kind of worked good today. I'm excited for this.
Oh, yeah, I would say if this, yeah, you were firing on all cylinders for sure, Jordan. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
You know, I think it's just given us a lot to think about. Even at the beginning, when you were giving your profile of students, I think we can connect to and relate to, we have a very similar student population in many ways. And so it's so great and inspiring to see what you have built, what you've created, and how you have filled that gap so that students can continue pursuing their education. And talk about a culture of care for your students. I think you guys are really living that. So thank you so much just for sharing your experiences, your lessons learned, and also just helping to kind of inspire what's possible out there for our students as well. So
Absolutely.
we really appreciate your time.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you having me. And if there's anything I can do for any of you moving forward, please reach out. I'm always available. If there's questions you have later, you can share my contact information, just whatever needs to be done. But I do appreciate your time and allowing me to share some insight with you all.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you all for joining today. Happy Hump Day. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.